So, hello everyone. I'm
Hello.
sitting here with Lisa Power from the ATG, formerly THT, again ETG, and OptTEST. And
Yeah.
we're gonna talk a little bit about OptTEST. So, Lisa, what is OptTEST about, in fact?
OptTEST stands for Optimizing Access to Testing and to Treatment in the Continuum of Care across Europe. And EATG is one of the partners in OptTEST. It has a range of different work programs of a number of different ways of trying to get more people into testing and treatment and support more people. My part of it is actually investigating, documenting and combating legal and regulatory barriers. So the laws that prevent key populations from coming forward to care, the regulations which mean that self-testing or other kinds of experimental testing cannot be done, the regulations which mean that NGOs can't afford to do community testing in a country because of all the different things they have to pay for, which are actually unnecessary. So I have been looking at what the legal and regulatory barriers are across Europe, and having done that research, we're now producing a toolkit to support people in each country in actually tackling the barriers in their particular country, to learn to identify their own barriers and then tackle them and make alliances to tackle them and find out who else has tackled them and what they can learn from them. So there will be case studies, tip sheets, a couple of slide sets all together on a website for OptTEST.
So, if you look at the work that you've done so far, what would be and you did this across Europe in different settings. What would be the most common barrier to testing and linkage to care in your view?
Well, I should say that people are actually very creative about barriers, and there are a remarkable number of them. And sometimes I am amazed by people's ingenuity in creating barriers. But the single biggest barrier that we face is people don't like change.
All right.
Doctors want to do what they've always done. Health advisors want to do what they've always done. Public health people don't revise their guidelines on how things should be done for a decade or more. And there is some brilliant work going on in a whole range of different countries right across Europe, from the UK to the Ukraine. There is a lot of different stuff going on which is imaginative, sensible, cost-saving, but it's not being spread enough around other countries. And in a lot of countries there is resistance because people are scared. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to be made redundant. So they don't want to be able to access testing at home for people. They're afraid to give patients too much power sometimes, I think.
Right. So this is also about not treating the patient as an adult, so that they don't trust them with the result.
It is fascinating that most of the objections to community testing are often around not trusting NGOs to be able to do testing, which is an incredibly simple procedure these days, and you really don't need a doctor, and you don't need a trained social worker. You need good peer people to support. Then you have the people who are absolutely determined that we should not be able to do self-testing, for which the arguments are identical to the way that doctors objected to women being able to do pregnancy testing, which actually is relatively recent, it's in the last 50 years. And doctors said that women should not be able to test for pregnancy because they wouldn't understand the test, they would misinterpret the results, they might commit suicide if they got a result they didn't like. It is complete failure to trust the person who may have HIV. It's vital that we support people to test in whatever way they feel comfortable, but it is also important that we also enable them to get into treatment and care, so it's two sides of a coin. It's no good freeing up testing unless you also make it easy for people to then get into care.
Right. Once the toolkit is produced, where will it be available?
The toolkit will be available on the OptTEST website. I would encourage absolutely everybody to steal bits of it, take it to your own website. I don't care what you do as long as you credit it back to its origin. There will also be a really helpful web tool which is a database about breaking the barriers to healthcare, and it will document what the barriers are in every country, in all of the 53 countries in Europe. It's interactive, so you can add comments to it, you can correct things which may have become out of date, and you will be able to see who else in Europe has the same problems that you have. And in conjunction with the toolkit, you'll be able to see how other people have overcome some of those problems, and actually maybe start to tackle those problems in your own country.
Absolutely brilliant.
So it will act as a league table, and we'll maybe be able to start actually working with people like ECDC to nag countries into better practice,
Yes.
not what they thought was good practice a decade ago.
Thank you.